I do like it when you've got that period when the barrel really is just a sort of oxidative chamber, really. It's just sort of giving you a little gentle micro-oxidation and a good fermentation vessel.
Hello, my name is Rio Windcaller, and I am the producer and cider MC of this weekly podcast, where we speak with makers, cider enthusiasts, and folks within the cider trade from around the world.
Hip, hip, hooray!
Talking about the gentle micro-oxidation of a good fermentation vessel, in this case, an oak barrel, was none other than Tom Oliver, bringing us into episode 454 of Cider Chat. Now, if that wet your whistle for a little bit more on barrel aging, cider, and perry, and perhaps hearing from Tom Oliver, then you are in for a treat, because Tom is our featured guest for this here episode. And this is part 2 of a 2-part series, because in the last episode, we had Tom delivering his keynote address at the Hereford Apple Banquet, which took place in October of 2024. And I just want to talk about the Hereford Apple Fest. It does seem like the continuation of that event is a little bit up in the air, which is, in my mind, an absolute bummer, because I was there in October. It was such an exciting time. I could only imagine, though, maybe it's a difficult time for the producers there, pulling out orchards and pressing. Maybe there's just too much going on. But it just was the perfect landing point to go into Herefordshire in that time. Always beautiful in October. And to be able to go to the Perry presentation that happened one day. And then there's all these different events all over Herefordshire. And then to culminate with the Apple Fest banquet. It would be a big loss if it didn't continue on. But, you know, I get it. Some things do pass, as we have seen across time in the cider verse. I guess not everything is forever. So stay tuned for that. If we hear that it keeps on rolling out, might be put on pause for 2025 and come back again in 2026, we here at Cider Chat will let you know. Moving on, Tom has been on Cider Chat a number of times now, both as a featured guest and as part of different panel discussions that have been recorded over the past 10 seasons. And if you are curious about those and you want to dig into it, you just simply need to go to the show notes at ciderchat.com for this here episode, which is number 454. And at the bottom of mostly, I would say every single show notes for an episode on Cider Chat, you'll find at the bottom of the page mentions in the Cider Chat. And that's where the different places we talk about, the people, the brands, get listed there, so you can link directly to their services. And what we have at the bottom of this week's episode under mentions in this episode, I'm not trying to confuse you, honestly I am. It's just the way my brain works to set up show notes. What you will see a number of episodes that Tom has been featured on. It was actually the first season 1, I think that was episode 29 with Tom Oliver. And I remember talking then about his hop cider, which I just fell for. So big time in the hop. And I just fell for it head over heels. And so that was my first sit down with him. It was in Portland, Oregon in 2016, which is so cool to kind of know somebody for that many years. And it was really exciting to do that. And then each year subsequent, when we could, we'd have a little sit down. So if you are wanting to get a little bit more of Tom, definitely we have in the archives at Cider Chat a whole bevy of episodes to dig into. Portland last year at CiderCon, he was on the Perry panel, which is also really awesome because he has some fine Perry. If you haven't tried this is where you're using Perry pears, a specific type of pears, just like there are cider apples that are perfect for fermenting into a delectable, as he would say, golden fire of a drink, no doubt. So, you're pretty much a win-win whenever you're reaching out for an Oliver cider. So we're going to be talking to Tom. I was out there doing a recon for this year's Totally Cider Tour UK edition, and it was actually the first time I've ever visited his cidery. So, you could have all these sit-downs meeting people all over the world, but you never get to their own home port. And it happened to be a very rainy day. His niece was visiting, actually staying there doing some work with him for a bit. And we were able to, between the raindrops, begin in the tasting room, then move through the production site. Well, actually, I think we went directly right into the barrel room. We'll be talking about that. I'll lead you through the episode so you can kind of follow along. It was a ton of fun. And, it just goes to show you, even a rainy day at a cidery can be an absolute blast when you have something really smooth and delightful in your glass. And on that same topic of something really smooth and delightful in your glass, well, I had two recent experiences. One was a recent tasting of a cider with Drew Phillips, who I just had on the podcast on episode 452. He threw some cans my way, and I was able to retaste the Tamerlane, which we talked about during the recording. It's a 100% Macintosh cider, and he aged it on black birch wood. And that's a particular tree. It's a hardwood tree that really grows quite well in New England and probably a lot of places in a little bit cooler climate. When you peel away the bark or you kind of cut into the tree, you often get sap coming out this time of year in the spring. And it's a good wood to burn in your wood stove and all that. And it has a lot of qualities of that quintessential birch taste, if you ever had a birch beer. Anyways, that's what the wood does. And so I had it off of the draft system there. And then he passed some cans my way, and one was a Tamerlane, and I was like, oh man, this is spot on. So really, really recommend that. I love when I taste a good cider. And then a little while ago, I had finally cracked open a bottle that Eric Bordelais gave me, and it's one of my favorite ciders that he makes, which is a Cidre Argelette. And this was from 2007. And when he gave me this bottle, it had a splash of, I don't know what, on the outside of the bottle. It's like artwork in and of itself. I did take a photo, so I'm going to put that in probably on the little Instagram feed for this episode because it was so tasty. And it was from 2007. I really want to mark that. So we're looking at a bottle of cider that is approaching 20 years old. So it's short, 2 years. So we're looking at 18 years old. And I didn't know what to expect. I like that one because I find it really very rich, a lot of minerality, enough tannin to go with so many good meals. It's a good table cider with food and also solo. This was something else out of its stratosphere. It was jammy. It was strawberry. It had definitely morphed into something that I've never tasted in his Argelette. I absolutely loved it. So, Eric, if you're out there, the word gets back to you until I see you again. Damn, that was good. Holy smokes. 2007. So, yes, cider ages, and it ages really, really well. And, sometimes I talk about something, you may never see this cider, but I hope it really encourages you to don't be afraid to go back into your cellar. People say drink cider now, but it's always good to get a couple ciders that are special and just tuck them away and then bring them out slowly. That's why when you go to a cider, you want to get a case of something. If you like it, this is your little time capsule in a bottle, and watch how it grows. It's so much fun. And I was able to share that special bottle with my friend Chris, who was visiting. So there you go. A little bit of a taste treat for all. Cider Chat is listener supported, and that means that folks are either hitting the donate button at ciderchat.com or becoming patrons of the Cider Going Up campaign at the Cider Chat Patreon page, which is a website that helps content creators like Cider Chat continue to do the work, especially of this podcast, bringing weekly news from Ciderville to you each and every week for the past 10 years. So a big tip of the glass to Ross-on-Wye Cider and Perry Company based in Ross-on-Wye. They'll be one of the stops on the upcoming Totally Cider Tour to the UK as we enjoy a day at the Ross Cider Fest. Oh, my goodness. Also, Duck Chicken, which is based in South London, and they make giggle juice. Oh, love those folks. We also have Spacetime Mead and Cider Works, which is based in Dunmore, Pennsylvania. That's right on the eastern side of Pennsylvania, right alongside the city of Scranton. We also have Insider Japan, our friend Lee Reeve, who is everything to do with cider in Japan. He really kicked it all off with the Insider Japan official magazine of the world of cider. And it's the only bilingual magazine covering that area of the world. We also have Esoterra Cider Works. We recently heard Robert, who is a maker at Esoterra, singing his cider rap song. If you haven't heard that, you got to go back. I think it is 2 episodes ago to listen to his rap song. It was incredible. Esoterra has moved its location and is now based in Durango, Colorado. We also have Taddy Bogle Cider Works, which is a supporter of Cider Chat. And Taddy Bogle, although they have closed their doors for now, is still continuing to support Cider Chat via this campaign. It's absolutely incredible, and that would be, well, none other than Kurt Henry, who is the man behind Taddy Bogle. So thank you so much, Kurt, for your continued support. We also have Chris and Matt and the whole family at Bent Ladder Cider and Wine, which is based in Doylestown, Ohio. A beautiful tasting room. Make that part of your cross-country trip this summer. If you're going on vacation or just a destination place you want to go to, they have it. We also have Press Then Press. For those of you who can't travel all over the map, they bring cider to your doorfront. They're based out of Seattle. This is a family-run online hub that just has the best select ciders that you could order. This is a great present to send for anyone getting married. I think so. So it makes me want to get married again, but then I have to get divorced, and that's not going to happen. Okay, we have also the American Cider Association, which is an organization of cider and perry producers in the United States, and Tom Oliver's Cider and Perry Company, based in Oaklepitcher in England's West Country. Of course, Tom is our featured guest this week, what can I say? And Locust Grove Cider and Brewery, which is based in Milton, New York. That's in the Hudson River area of New York State. It's on the actual west side of the river. They have a big tasting room, and you could go there. The orchard's right outside the door and check it all out. And, of course, going up to Canada, we have our friends. Heeman Cellar is a cider maker there, and they're cranking out meads and cider. Another place like Bent Ladder, really a cool destination, and that is based in London, Ontario. So all these folks, and maybe you out there in Ciderville might like to become part of the Cider Going Up campaign. You could do that by going to the Patreon page. Just Google Cider Chat and Patreon. That's spelled Patreon.
Walking through the orchard.
Up next is our featured presentation with Tom Oliver. This took place in October of 2024. I was heading out of Hereford proper, the downtown area. And as luck has it, normally when I don't know, it seems like abroad and I'm trying to find a place, my GPS takes me to somewhere else. So I was kind of like in a parallel road, and it was telling me this is where Oliver Cider and Perry was, but it must have been the back side of the property. So I had to scoot out to the main road again, eventually saw a very large sign, largest, I would say, not gaudy in any way possible. Perfect sign pointing us towards Oliver Cider and Perry. Headed down the road and took this nice 1-lane drive down with fields flanking either side of the road, and came to this old farm. And you're going to be hearing from Tom a little bit about the history there, of his family being there, and how long they've been there too. It was kind of special because his niece was visiting, and we talked a little bit, and then soon before you know it, he had to head out and bring her home, which left me alone at Oliver Cider and Perry in the tasting room. That didn't mean I was tasting anything. I was just going around and kind of like checking it all out. So I bring you on that. And then we will be traveling into the barrel room once he returns and going through some tastings of the barrel. And then from the barrel room, which is, it's a classic shed roof, lots of ventilation. It's on one side of the building, so it's not necessarily getting a lot of heat, but, it fluctuates depending on the season, of course. There was drips coming through the ceiling onto the barrels, but you're going to hear from Tom's perspective, like this is, as he would say, zero intervention and really zero pretense at the cidery, which I totally get, and is part of why we just love Oliver's. And then from there, we went into the production area to take a look at his setup, and then out to look at all the apples because it was October and apples were coming in, and we end with a delivery of apples from a local picker, which makes this a very fine time now to grab a glass and join this chat with Tom Oliver of Oliver's Cider and Perry Company, based in Ochilpitcher in Herefordshire in the United Kingdom.
We're busy doing a lot of distilling too, not here, but
move it outside,
up at a friend's place in Ludlow.
What are you doing with the distill? Is it just like eau de vie for mixing?
We've got an eau de vie, a Foxwell eau de vie, because aromatically it works. Foxwell works so well for that. Then we've got a 3 apple brandy. I can't call it cider apple brandy really by law, but maybe we will be able to call it.
You could just call it apple brandy?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're coming.
Can you call it Oliver's apple brandy?
Yes.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, we just might as well qualify the brand there. Okay.
That's in barrel now, so that's got another 2.5 years to go.
Did you use a fresh barrel? Or?
Yeah, I brought previously used barrels from the rum industry, from the sherry industry, from the port industry, and from the bourbon industry. So I'm hoping that mixture will work.
Was that a particular blend that you're looking for there?
It was a big bittersweet blend that we put together, a mixture of things that we had, and the whatever purpose they were for hadn't come to fruition. And so we thought, because it was such a good year last year in terms of the amount we pressed, if we're going to do some distillation, this is the year to do it, because we will not be able to do it this year. We certainly won't have. So we thought, right, get on and do it now. Yeah. We've got a pommeau that's going to come out from that. I'm not sure I'm going to call it pommeau though. I'm not happy because it's not strictly made in the French style. And I feel if you're going to use a word, then it needs to do homage to that particular style. Yeah. So I've got my own thoughts of what I might call that. We've got a Perry too, and at the moment the Perry is in discussion in my head as to whether we're going to barrel it or eau de vie it or do a Poirot. Once again, I wouldn't be happy calling it, because it won't be a French Poirot.
Well, you are English after all.
Exactly.
You have to claim your own territory.
Exactly.
Pretty good with coming up with some good names, Tom. I can't imagine that's too difficult for you. Seriously, I mean, you just kind of put Oliver's on it, and then you could call it whatever, and people are going to be okay. I trust this man, so I wouldn't sweat. That seems like sweating the small stuff. But
I think it's sometimes it's obviously it's something in it's fulfilling a part in me, whatever that creative thing that you think you've got.
That's why you're doing it.
But so that's another whole other things we've been getting into the last 12 months. So it's been a good, exciting year, actually.
I kind of walked in and I saw the stainless steel tanks, and I was surprised. I was, wait a minute, they're stainless here. I didn't know that.
There's stainless. There's a lot of totes here, and there's some barrels. So I must obviously show you around.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Do whatever you want to do, Rhea. Rummage.
Here I go. I'm walking around the room here, which is part of the barn. Whitewashed the stone walls. It makes it quite nice and bright. Nice lighting here. The ceiling is wood over your head. It's rough cut lumber that Looks like it's been like sanded down a little bit, but it has personality, and that's what we like. So right in front of me, there's a bar. It's a little rounded bar where you kind of go up and do your business. Obviously, you could do credit cards here and stuff. And then there's a bag and boxes, and we see classic Perry, traditional Perry. Pear Drop Explodes. And that is the name of it. It's a still medium dry Perry. And then you have the next wall. Again, well-appointed lighting. A bookcase set up with all the bottles on it. Primarily 750 ml bottles. Some cans, which I know Tom's been coming out with. The Guilty Pleasure cans. And then the ones that are just, says Oliver Cider and Perry cider made from cider apples, unfiltered wild. Okay, move my car. Where was I? All right, let's take a little look at what we got here. We got some small bottles here of Oliver's. He has some great names. Oliver's Fine Cider Pomona, Rolling Blend. That's 2023. 5 Friends Still. Oliver's Fine Cider Cuckhorn Farm, Single Orchard, Fox Whelp Cider. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Yeah, I wonder what that one is about, Tom. Nittiness and Whiz number 2, a sparkling cider made in Herefordshire. At the Hop, number 11. That's a 750 ml bottle. We used to see that coming in a smaller 550 bottle. Used to get that in the U.S. Let's go into the other room here. And in these other rooms, we just kind of have a bottling situation. And more awards, and first place here, first place there. Some nice photos of Tom. And looks maybe potentially like a little bit of a library. Stacking up with some bottles from other places. The building is massive because this is a farm where they've repurposed so much of it into a cider making territory. For Tom Oliver. It's kind of a playground for a cider maker, if you ask me. Low ceiling. Some bottles in the back here where they're doing some riddling. I think they are. Let's see. Is there? Must be something in there. Yes, there is. So they got a little bit going on. And it's been there for a while because there's dust.
My turkey baster and my glasses.
Okay.
And
the things you should taste. It's behind the door. He hasn't opened it yet. It has a nice little ring thing on the door. You kind of like lift up a little latch because it gives a little bit of a classicness to it. And see what's going on here. It's raining out. I do have my green poncho from Mont Saint Michel that I can lay in.
There you go.
Look at that. The illumination begins.
Yeah, we've got some light. So this light's not working, so this must be the one that's playing us up. We have trouble when it rains. What we're going to do...
Could you try this switch here?
But that's for the light
okay, inside.
There.
Okay, never mind. We don't want to turn this on. Okay.
Okay, so
what are you thinking here, Tom?
I'm not telling you anything. All right?
You're not going to tell me? Oh, God, please don't quiz me. Oh, my God.
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right, good.
I'm not quizzing you.
Okay, good.
But we're probably quizzing myself, actually, some of the time. Yeah, this is a barrel that hasn't been tasted since we put the juice into it last winter.
Winter, okay.
So, and I'm not joking, this is the first time we've tasted this.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say anything in case it's absolutely disastrous. Fingers crossed.
Cheers.
Cheers. Welcome.
Thank you.
Aromatically a little bit light.
A little bit aromatic, yeah. And nice.
Yeah.
Nice little bit of acid there, too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some quite nice fruit. So it's a Perry.
Mm-hmm. I got that right on the nose there.
Yeah, and it's a copy Perry. So this is from that one last big mature tree. It's actually quite rounded and integrated. There is that, for me, in the finish, there is that sort of confectionery, sweet shop fruitiness. And I'm not going to say it's any one particular fruit, but it's just got that sweet shop. Melon balls or...
you got a little banana.
Yeah, bananas,
banana, yeah.
pineapple, I don't know, it's all...
yeah, very complex. But I like the nose. You know, it's kind of like, what's going on there? Now, would you leave this as a sparkling, or would you just leave it as a still? Because I manage a little bit of bubbles to kind of like pop it up a bit, but you know.
This is a bit of a fight I have with
yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
In that, ideally, I would love for it to drink as a still perry.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that most people would love just a little bit of carbonation in there. And so my feeling is, and actually I was, this very point that you've made, I was in bed last night thinking, okay, so am I going to put a sparkle in it? And I am pretty sure that I will be putting a bit of a sparkle in this, because I want it to be enjoyed at its best. Having said that, I've just got such, for me, this wonderful aftertaste that this pear gives you. Yeah.
Really.
But as you say, it would help it just pop a little bit, I think.
And you know, truthfully, I would like this in like one of those big red wine glasses, to tell you the truth. And that's why we're drinking it in, you know, a more classic, smaller wine glass. I forget what it's called. But, you know, if you had this in a big red wine glass, a classic kind, then you'd be really drinking, and you wouldn't even need to sparkle.
Yeah, true.
So that's part of it, right, is what you're drinking out of. Although most of us do drink out of this glass. A little fermentation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that nice softness, the nice creaminess that you have going on there.
Yeah. Inevitable for us. I try and stop it, but
Why? Because that's pretty damn nice.
I know.
Why would you want to change anything? I don't know.
I say stop it. I accept it. I sometimes realise how little I've retained over the years, because we've got a beautiful sort of gin perry in bottle at the moment, and I was absolutely sure that it had completed its malolactic. Well, I'm absolutely sure now, as it's been in the bottle for about 4 months, that it hasn't finished its malolactic, because I can see it's just clouding up a bit. It's not spritzing, and it won't shift the cork, but it hasn't finished its malolactic, put it that way. It's decided to do it in the bottle. Right, let's see what this one's like.
Hasn't been opened yet.
No, this one I know hasn't been, and I'm very intrigued by this one, and we'll see.
I'm guessing this is another perry.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Wow, very different nose.
Oh yeah. Yeah, good, because that's I would
kind of what you want.
Yeah.
From one barrel to the other.
So this one is a different mix. In actual fact, it is good. Yeah.
Quite nice.
Yeah, pulls it in.
Nice.
So this is 50% coffee, 50% gin, and red pear. It's definitely giving more complexity, more on the at the front of it, I think, too.
The malolactic it's not.
The gin's covering it up.
Yes.
Because of the acidity of the gin, it's pushing it forward. Yeah.
Quite nice.
That's nice.
Now, what would be the ABVs of these? What would you be guessing here?
They're not going to be extraordinarily high, I'm afraid. Sugar levels last year were pretty low, so this is going to be somewhere in the 6.5 to 6.6.
I'm happy to hear that. I really don't want to be drinking alcohol. I could drink more of it, and that's delicious. So what's the next stage here? You're tasting it for the first time, and so what's going to be next for step here?
I think consequences of being a small business is you're always trying to have work in the pipeline, especially this year where the fruit is not quite as plentiful. We may not be pressing every day, and when we're not pressing, we're doing orders, but what I do like is to have projects so that if we get a couple of days free, we can set it up, and then Ethan can go and do some bottling for a few days. So what I'm always thinking, through the winter is building up these little tasks, these little projects, and then when we get a spare moment, we're not just going, oh heck, what are we going to do? We know exactly what we're going to be doing. So
That's good.
Yeah, and this is a sort of time when this is really good because it's temperatures drop in, everything's cooling off, everything is going to be well behaved.
Well,
So
it's stable. Now, when you bottle this will go. These barrels will then be immediately refilled. How does that work?
So if we get this done in sequence, yes. So these would be just given a rinse out and literally filled straight again with Perry because I think they're good sound barrels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the advantages of this time of year too.
How old are these barrels, Tom? Would you say? General.
These are on their second or third fill.
You just want a neutral barrel, yeah. So you could really showcase it.
Yeah.
You know, and this one here with little gin pear, it's like really getting the pear there.
Yeah.
You know, it's much more pronounced.
Yeah.
It's because it has.
I do some perries that have a dominant influence of rum, which I don't mind. It's done on purpose.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do like it when you've got that period when the barrel really is just a sort of oxidative chamber, really. It's just sort of giving you a little gentle micro-oxidation and a good fermentation vessel.
Yeah.
Now, that may not be the case with...
Going into the other room. Now, this room is like, I wasn't going to say it's by, 15 by 15 square that we're in. And there's 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe 36 barrels in here, something like that.
Yeah.
You have them numbered.
So
I see we're 32.
Yeah,
okay, 32 barrels.
So we've got
something like that.
Yeah, we've got all numbers. So we've got this room is one of the old hop kilns. So this was where we dried the hops.
Hops hanging from the ceiling.
So they would have been tipped out of the green sacks upstairs.
Okay.
And on that floor, they would be about a metre, 3 meter deep, all across the floor. And that at the top of this, there's a fan in the roof. That fan would then pull up the hot air. So we would either be burning coal or coke, or have a diesel burner down here.
Right, maybe blowing out from there.
Blowing hot air in, and then it would suck it up through the hops. And they would, over a period of 8 hours or so, dry out, lose their moisture, so that you could then take them out on the hairs, tip them onto the bagging floor, as it was called, and then they would be compressed into hot pockets. I'll show you a hot pocket in a minute when we go outside. But we've got 3 rooms like that. So 2 of them we use as barrel rooms.
Fantastic barrel room.
Yeah, and the third one we use as a bottling room. So we've literally just taken an old farm building and repurposed it without doing anything flash. This is...
No, why would you need to do anything here?
There's nothing for... Yeah,
it's just a waste of time. It's for barrels.
I don't think I need... Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
I think we'd be wasting our time.
Yeah, and I love that they're all low on the floor, so you're able to roll them. You're never thinking about stacking them, or are you?
We've tried it, but it just gets in the way.
And it's hard to manage it. You can't taste it as often.
It is a real fiddle. So this is nice to have this space. So we run 120 of these barrels every year, just to give us a little bit of extra. And I'm going to try and remember what's in what barrel. I'm just wondering.
Do you have that written down somewhere?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
I could. I am just going to go and get a sheet of paper because I'm looking at this thinking I can't remember which was which.
2021. What is that one?
So let me go and.
I've been there and have done that. We're in this square room, all whitewashed again, so that's nice. I'm not seeing any mold on the walls or anything like that. Where the hops hung, yeah, it's like that. And there's a floor up above. You could see that it's a grate up there. You could see all the way clear through for the hop room. Quite interesting. As much as I know about beer, I don't really know about that piece there. Tom has pulled out, it's about, a whole file of names there listed from 1 to 39. So he's trying to figure out what barrel is what.
So this may be a different story. This is a first fill barrel. So I think the barrel influence might be a little more dominant. I've chosen this one because it's a variety that seems to be getting quite a bit of traction everywhere. It's Porter's Perfection.
Quite popular.
Popular. And everywhere. It's
not
finally,
just the UK, just other parts of the world,
Which is
such a crazy looking apple too.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, what an interesting finish. Right on the top of the roof of the sides of my tongue all the way to the top. Bright, delicious tannins.
Yeah, the spirit is definitely giving it a bit of smoothness to it. There's not too much spirit per se. There's a little bit in the finish, but it's quite a light.
It's not it's not hot at all. It's quite delightful actually. It brings the cider into like a different direction that you normally get. And you either like it or you don't, but I kind of like that. Yeah.
And it does sort of remind you that it's quite a light bitter sharp, that it's not a full-on tannic monster or anything.
Not at all.
There is a little bit of acidity there, but it's not hugely dominant or anything.
These are all going to be single varietals.
We're thinking
blending. Because I could see this being blended easily too. It could be good alone, but also blended.
I think the answer will be when we've gone through everything. If we think there's maybe half a dozen that would make good single barrel bottlings, then we would quite conceivably think about putting a 6.
Well, that's a hot ticket.
We've done this a couple of times. Back the barrel room series, we've done 2, and the first one was in lockdown and was we were really happy with. The second barrel room series, I maybe changed too many of the other factors, whether it was based around 2 varieties together, whereas the first one was purely single varieties. I think I would go back on the third one to single variety, single barrel, single variety bottlings. But having said that, if we come through it and we think, oh grief, if we put X, Y, Z, A, B and C together, that's just going to be a phenomenal blend, then that's what we'll do.
Options are a good thing to have, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. But everybody's really enjoying single varietals because it's so educational. It really shows you exactly at that orchard, and that cidery is... Yeah, I love how the camp is on 2 sides of the river.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy because some are like you must blend.
And I've fair and squarely pitched my tent in the blending field, but I do understand the delight and joy of drinking a single variety. But I think you can present a single variety in a way that maybe gives it more of an opportunity to be a complete story rather than just...
This is not one-dimensional at all.
No. We all love a freak show. Well, I know we're not meant to, but we all love a freak show because that's what kept circuses going for 100 years.
Right.
And so I see some single varieties a bit like that. Of course, you go through. It's like amazing. The tannin on that is amazing. Yeah. But it's like but
then what?
No one's going to sit down and So I do think there is room for all. There is room for all.
Agreed.
There might even be.
Well, that shows that we're always open to kind of changing, Mr. Oliver.
Well, I think there's a barrel here that's told me
I'm ready to go. Just pulled up, but it's holding steady. So why do you need that ring?
It is. It's obviously a surplus to
that's a Foxwell too. Wow.
It's a Foxwell from.
My goodness.
From
so what is the 40? So that's 20.
So that was the 40th batch in the year 2020.
Okay.
If there isn't a year mentioned, it's because it's last year. So the code this year, I did this barrel myself, so it's got my own code on it, which is not the same code as Yarrick uses, which is very naughty of me.
Oh boy.
But there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically every batch has a sheet, and to be honest, there's not a huge amount of information on the sheet. It'll be the variety, where it was from, when it was picked, when it was pressed, and to be honest, That's it.
That works.
Because there's no yeast information.
Right,
or
what else do you need there?
information,
Nothing.
No sulfur information
Yeah.
needed, nothing.
Yeah. How long do you keep the barrels until the rings start falling off? That works. What else do you need?
Yeah,
You know, they're not leaking.
Until the wheels come off. Actually, that's to be honest. Actually, it's the first time we've had
A barrel with the ring coming up. A band. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Go. Somewhere between 4 and 6 years.
Okay,
roughly.
That sounds right.
Because most of these are out of the whiskey industry, whether it's Scottish, Irish, or Welsh. There's a few rum and a few odds and ends, but because they're the cheaper barrels for us.
Yeah, you got to use which. Makes sense. And they're doing a mighty fine job. I love how you're kind of getting like air circulation in here, right? So we're in this like little cube, but because the ceiling has that, I don't know what you call it, a grate or a membrane or what, like the whole, I don't know.
It is. Yeah,
total air.
It's a Hessian sacking floor.
Little air holes.
Slats on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're definitely getting some movement here, which is, if it was just a cave, I mean, not that you don't have barrels in caves, but somehow this just feels right.
Part of what is Oliver's, you know, there's zero pretense here. It really is what it is, and we are, as I say, just making use of old buildings. But if it works, we don't feel the need to mess with it.
So some of the barrels, they have airlocks on it, right?
Yep.
And some don't. So what's the stage of operations there?
Okay, so the barrels with solid bungs are from a previous year. Okay. The airlocks are current.
Yeah.
And some of the airlocks are on because we do find that it's quite useful with the malolactic just to see, and there is still some activity in some of them. And this is, we're 10 months on.
Right.
Now.
Right.
But these will all be replaced with solid bungs over the next few weeks, because we will start filling up any extra barrels we've got or any barrels we've emptied. We'll start filling them up. And then airlocks will be unique to 2024 season.
2024, okay, yeah. Nice. Lovely. What a treat to taste out of the barrel room at Oliver Cider and Perry. It's where the magic happens.
You hope.
I think so. I think you got it. For sure. Yeah, and look at this fancy new barrel here. I don't know, is that for show or what?
Well,
that's quite pretty.
It is very pretty. It's a white wine barrel. James Forbes. This, but no,
you got a couple of them here now.
I purchased a dozen very expensive barrels from France for the distillation. Okay. I've used, that's 5. So I must have used, I've got 7. 6 with the prospective apple brandy in, and 1 for the pear brandy. And these are here, and I'm going to be using these, I think, for fermenting anything I think that's really special in. But these are, my average barrel has cost me about £80. These have cost me £500 each. So
chunk of change there.
It's going to be something.
Good thing the pound's worth a little bit more than the euro, but still, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, it's a different kind of wood, right? It really is a different beast.
Yes,
it truly is.
It's got to be something very special in there. So.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But they will be going on their side. They're stacked up right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
they'll
good.
Be on their side.
Great.
Join the rest of these boys. So this is the front end that catches the sun.
Okay. It's a little bit bigger,
yeah. Yeah, I think it's a long cognac. And we've used it many, many times actually. I'm amazed it survived. And it's got a Michelin Dabinet blend in it, just soft and no real acid.
No, but wow! I could just feel that on my teeth immediately. What a change of direction in a good way.
Good blender. Really good blender.
Using special tanks for the keys.
Yes. So all in
the other room. Okay. All right. Yeah. You don't do a lot of keep, do you, or do you?
We did 26,000 litres last year.
Oh, that's all? Okay.
So
I stand to be corrected. That's a wee bit.
But let's pretend that out of that, truly successfully, we didn't keeve 26,000 litres. We used everything, and it was all worked out, but we had a fair bit of trouble achieving a complete keeve last year.
I hear that a bit. Yeah.
It's getting a bit more dicey.
A little more tough, but I feel like I'm on the side of a harbor where, the pirates are coming.
Good.
And you got this kind of dark little room with the barrels, and they're tucked away. You wouldn't really know. You'd think it's a farm. But no, it's Tom Oliver in the little barrel room, sipping away and doing these little magical blends. It's very endearing. And so what you would want to, in your fantasy world, expect if you come into a farm and say, yes, let's go there. Oh my gosh, look at that. One barrel room after another. Of magic elixirs.
Just a space, putting some barrels in it, and immediately it transforms it.
Warm and cozy. It's crazy.
It's something different.
Yeah, the roundness of it really works. Also, I got to admit, like you have the posts, you have you just took the bark off the wood, and you're using the posts up there to hold galvanized roof. No worry about snow.
This is really why we've started this reinforcing, because this thing was starting to move a bit. So we just got to finish it off. And then
that's not too bad.
Then it'll be safe for a year or two.
Yeah. Well, I hear you're getting higher wind. Right, you are getting higher wind, so that's the problem with these galvanized roofs.
That's right.
Thank God you're not in Florida.
We've rarely had A, high winds, but B, snow. And my real fear is because a really good, 2 foot of snow on these roofs.
Would you get that? You haven't.
Once every 15 or 20 years.
When you were a kid, how much snow were you getting here?
We did get snow every year, as I recall. We've had about 3 or 4 major snow storms and collections
since you have been alive.
Since I've been aware of it.
Okay, all right.
So once every 15 years.
Yeah, I mean that would. I mean that's kind of like those every 100-year storms that you don't expect because the region doesn't get it. Who knows what's going to happen, right? I mean, we're getting these.
We really don't know. I think we have to be
slightly prepared.
Yes.
Maybe shore up. Look at the shear factor there and the weight.
I think,
but not too much.
Yeah, I think we just need to complete a job would be a start.
Well, it is going on barrels, so the barrels could, if it happened, it would suck. It would suck.
But what can happen?
Right. Except it would knock off. Yeah.
Okay. So if we got
put your money where it's worth. Totally makes sense.
Nothing would happen because even if we got, you might break these off. But if we could get in, put solid bungs on.
Yeah, you're good.
The whole thing could collapse.
Exactly, and the barrel would just be there.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that barrel I got in France from the beam had fallen in the barn, and it was his father's last vintage from 1989, and they didn't know it was there until 2022.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Calvados.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, that was crazy. But nobody knew. It was just sitting there chugging away, sitting like a little time capsule that it is. So some of your barrels, you have your name on it, but
it's laser etched,
okay.
And the chap was offering that as a service. He doesn't offer it anymore. So he sent us about 6 barrels with it done, and we used. Well, we hadn't actually used this barrel before, so this was its first outing. And I can see that it just
kind of a little crack.
But it's
really keen cut.
It's fine.
Yeah, we'll work it out. Yeah, I guess you could be like Banksy and just do a little stencil and make it off. You need to, but why do that?
If it was worth what a Banksy is, I'd do the whole place.
Oh, hell yeah, right? No kidding. I know. You just put a little Tom Oliver face on there, and then your Oliver's, Cider and Perry brand name, and I'll tell you, people will be going cray-cray for it. What I love is that it's not that you're not sweating the small stuff, because I'm sure you are, but it's the fact that, you're putting your energy where it most counts, right? Because if you don't have good fruit, you're not going to be able to make a good product, period, right? That's the bottom line. And do you have to, and because you can, do you really have to worry about making it all, sanitized and clinical? You don't even want that, right?
Well, as everyone knows, it's never going to happen here anyway. And I've never seen a direct correlation between sanitization and cider that I want to drink. I'm not saying that it isn't. There's lots of people who are doing really good things with very proper surroundings. But part of the joy of this is farmhouse cider.
Yeah.
And farmhouse cider is in essence, it's a fruit picked, pressed seasonally, fermented by wild yeast ambiently in your farm buildings, and tasted and packaged when you have time between lambing and harvest or whatever else you're doing. And it's another part of the agricultural calendar. It's not what you rely on totally for your income, and it's part of a more complex setup. So it has to take its place.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, no. Well, those are good decisions. You got to be savvy as a business person.
Yeah. To
not always worry about what it looks like, but it really comes down to what it tastes like. So what's the difference between farmhouse cider and fine cider? Because you're making, quote unquote, fine cider.
So I think I describe myself as a farmhouse cider maker making fine cider.
Well, I would agree with that. That's true. That's good.
And the fine cider thing, it's slightly like, is it just vaguely. Initially, the whole point is that it's to try and allow, in the broadest sense of the word, people to know that there's one thing available in the pubs through cake dispense or whatever, or at the supermarket checkout, that's whatever it is, and then there's another type of cider. And how do you, without huge amounts of marketing and this, that and the other, differentiate between the two? Well, I don't know if you do really. So I think ultimately, let's use a word like fine cider, and people go, that's not fine, that's this, that's other. It doesn't matter. We've made a line in the sand. This is one type of cider. This is another type of cider. So, and I think fine cider has actually been quite a useful term that people are generally using a little bit more now. What do you make? Oh, we make fine cider. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. They don't have to define that particularly, but it means I'm not making a mass market type cider necessarily.
Okay, well, there's the differentiation, right? That you're not making a mass market. What I consider modern cider, some people agree with that, but that's turned over industrial style, kind of kicking it out.
And I think they're perfectly good to have that differentiation, and I do like it that people are talking about it like that. I like it. Christina Bowers is talking about modern cider funding the cider that they make, and it gives them the opportunity to make these single varietals and these orchard blends and so forth, and that's great. Ultimately, we are not trying to talk to people who know about this already. What we are trying to do is entice people, new people in, and I think it's helpful rather than unhelpful.
Yeah.
Most alienated by the term fine cider are probably farmhouse cider drinkers, and they just think that some form of their cider has been hijacked. It hasn't been hijacked at all.
No. Glass over here.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. All right, so we're heading out through the little packing area, and this is a nice packing area, quite efficient. Getting all out. Got a little load here shipping off somewhere.
Yeah. This is fine cider. This is fine cider going to fine cider.
Very good.
And this is
all your key kegs and your stainless steel. Yeah.
This is fine cider heading to the Real Owl Company. So both heading to London.
Okay. Yeah, I was down at the Black Cat down in Weston Supermar. Nice little cider bar down there.
I've never been there. Actually.
Yeah, quite nice.
Oh, good.
Quite
Good.
nice. They had quite an extensive list of fine ciders, actually.
Oh, good.
And I guess they just made the list of one of the top cider pubs in the country, so who knew?
Yeah, no, it is good work.
What are you putting in the stainless as opposed to the IBC?
Okay, so the way we tend to work is on a daily basis, we press and the juice goes.
That's your whole press right there. That's your entire pressing system.
Yeah.
That's a nice little tiny belt press. It's kind of like, it's cute and huggable.
Yeah.
My God, look at this.
Yeah.
I'm going to come over here.
We could really do something bigger, but...
I would imagine, but that's working for you, Tom. My God.
Yeah, Yarrick does all the pressing, and basically we've got a system that's a one-person operation.
Well, that works.
And all you need is a forklift to put the crates into the bin tipper there. That's
nice access here.
That lifts up.
Yep. The garage door lifts up.
And then all the fruit comes out of, well, I'll show you.
Yeah, here we go. So out here, this is your loading station. Yeah, you got it all right here, nice and tidy.
Yeah. So clean IBCs ready to be
filled up
when we need.
Great.
Empty crates.
Nice type operation.
Yeah. It's simple. But it does. It works.
Guess what? It needs to be done.
Yeah.
How old is the farm overall, Tom?
Well, we've been here since, say, 1873. And there's probably been some form of farming here for...
1873 is a long time. Your family has been here. Wow.
Yeah. The area as an agricultural area has been here for many centuries. And the whole area, we're in Oakle Pitchard. And that's, the name is derived from Oakle, meaning ring of oaks, which is a pretty standard thing because the country was covered in oaks in going back. And Pitchard is derived from Picardy because in post 1066 and the Norman conquest, the estate that this farm would have been part of was given to a knight from Picardy as a reward for his helping William the Conqueror.
My goodness.
Conquer us.
Lovely. Good to get it back then.
So
full circle on you, William.
Yes. As always, the old English-French thing is never too far away.
No, it isn't. I could feel it. Yeah. A little chill in the bone there, but it's all in good humor now. So, that's quite a long time to be with your family here.
Yeah.
And you grew up here, kind of running through these like little barns. How many barns were here when you were a kid?
So I'm afraid that's one thing, and nothing much has changed.
It's pretty much these barns were here since when you were a kid.
When we were picking hops, everything was the same. Wow. We've refashioned this little lean-to, but that's all. Yeah. Good. Everything's the same. I think it's possibly an indication of we've managed to keep going, but we haven't really been able to find anything to invest heavily to do anything other than the cider,
cider's such a great value-added product for the farm because otherwise, what would it be? It would just be beef cattle or
beef and sheep.
Beef and sheep. Okay. Yeah. How many acres do you have?
So 330, including everything. So that's including some woodland. We've planted quite a lot of woodland over the years.
Any orchards here?
Yeah, there's a few small orchards. The look of the place is dictated by the fact that I grew up as a hop farmer, growing hops. So everything that you can see
out there was all hops.
Those hop yards.
Wow.
And so when we pulled the hop yards out in 1997, 98, I thought I was going to get a few orchards in, as any partnership does. My partners wanted more grassland for more stock, and that's fine. That's the way it goes. So that's what's happened. So we've got a lot more grassland, and it became clear to me too that I would be able to work with a number of people around here in terms of fruit. They already were growing fruit or had fruit.
Yeah.
Why
totally makes sense.
I didn't need to plant any. It's not as if I was in a desert.
Right. An oasis. You're really an oasis, really. Here.
It wouldn't work anyway. But, So I was lucky, the right place for having this approach.
Yeah, I see it.
And it's actually worked out quite well. Over time.
Come some more apples or pears, or what do we got here?
This is Alistair McLeish. He's a top. His wife Pippa does all the picking, and she picks absolutely beautifully. This is probably more Red Street, I think.
Nice. At ciderchat.com, you'll find the show notes for this here episode 454 of Cider Chat. Just put Tom Oliver in the search bar or 454, and it'll be right there. In addition, you'll also find a link to send an email today for the waitlist for the next Totally Cider tour out and about in Ciderville. And also the donate button and a link to the Cider Chat Patreon page. And with that, I leave you here. This is Rhea Windcaller signing off for now. Looking forward to seeing you in Ciderville.
Strange apples, bitter sharp. Strange apples, juicy and ripe. Bop, bop, bop. Ba-da-dum-doo-doo-dop, bop, 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 ba-da-dum-doo-doo-dop. Who wants a Tannenbaum?
I want a Tannenbaum.
Who wants to pull them down?
I'm gonna pull them down. Hey, 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 apples,
bittersweet. Strange apples, hanging high. Got them strange apples. Forget the pie. Strange apples. Squeeze them tight. Got them strange apples. Strange apples. Strange apples. Make them pop. Pop, 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 ba-da-dum-doo-doo-da, pop, 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 ba-da-dum-doo-doo-da.
Who wants a Tannenbaum?
I want a Tannenbaum.
Who wants to pull them down?
I'm gonna pull them down. Hey, 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 apples. Come and see. Plenty strange apples for you and me. Strange apples. Strange apples. Strange apples. Make them pop. Pop, pop, pop. Ba-da-doo-doo-da. Pop, pop, pop. Ba-da-doo-doo-da. Pop, pop, pop. Ba-da-doo-doo-da. Pop, pop, pop. Pop, 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 pop.